Good morning, dear students. Today we are going to see the last part of the lesson. Fourth part. Won't your mother be looking for you? The conductor asked when he gave the girl her ticket. No, no one will be looking for me, she said. The bus started and again there were the same wonderful sights. Then the conductor asked Valli, won't your mother be looking for you? Then Valli replied that no. Then the bus started and there were the same wonderful sights. Valli wasn't bored in the slightest and greeted everything with the same excitement she would felt the first time. Valli was not bored with the slightest and greeted everything with the same excitement. But suddenly she saw a young cow lying dead by the roadside, just where it had been struck by some fast moving vehicle. Then suddenly Valli saw that a cow was dead by the roadside by some fast moving vehicle. Isn't that the same cow that ran in front of the bus on our trip to town? She asked the conductor. The conductor nodded and she was overcome with sadness. Then Valli asked about that with the conductor. Then he had also replied that yes. What had been a lovable, beautiful creature just a little while ago had now suddenly lost its charm and its life and looked so horrible, so frightening as it lay there, legs spread laid, a fixed stare in its lifeless eyes, blood all over. The bus moved on. The memory of the dead cow haunted her, dampening her enthusiasm. Then Valli described about the dead cow. That is, the young cow was a lovable, beautiful creature, just like a little while ago. Now suddenly lost its charm and its life looked so horrible. Then the bus moved on, but Valli didn't forget that scene. She no longer wanted to look out of the window. She sat thus, glued to her seat, until the bus reached her village at 3:40. So she didn't want to see the outside and she sat on the bus and reached her village at 3:40. She stood up and stretched herself. Then she turned to the conductor and said, well, sir, I hope to see you again. Then after that, Valli stood up and stretched herself. Then she told to the conductor that I hope to see you again. Okay, madam, he answered her, smiling. Then she also smiled. Whenever you feel like a bus ride, come and join us and don't forget to bring your fare. Then conductor replied that whenever you feel like a bus ride, please come and join with us and don't forget to bring your fare. She laughed and jumped down from the bus. Then away she went, running straight for home. Then he directly go to her home. When she entered her house, she found her mother awake and talking to one of Valli's aunts, to the one from the south street. Then when she entered her house, she found that her mother was awake and talking to his aunt, that is one from the south street. This aunt was real chatterbox, never closing her mouth once she started talking. The aunt was a chatterbox. Chatterbox means always talking. Then, and where have you been? Said her aunt when Valli came in. Then the auntie asked about Valli that where have you been? She spoke very casually, not expecting a reply. So Valli just smiled and her mother and aunt went on with their conversation. Valli didn't reply anything. She just smiled and her mother and aunt went on with their conversation. Yes, you are right, her mother said. So many things in our midst and in the world outside. Then her mother told about that. Then how can we possibly know about everything? And even when we do know about something, we often can't understand it completely, can we? Then they are talking about something. Oh yes, breathed Valli. What? Asked her mother. What is that you say? Then Malli's mother asked about what? What is that you say? Oh, said Valli, I was just agreeing with what you said about things happening without our knowledge. Then Valli replied that I was just agreeing with what you said about things happening without our knowledge. Just a chit of girl she is, said her aunt, and yet look how she pokes her nose into our conversation just as though she were a grown lady. Chit of girl means small girl. Just a small girl, said her aunt, and yet look how she pokes her nose into a conversation. Pokes her nose means takes an interest in something that doesn't concern her. Valli smiled to herself. She didn't want them to understand her smile, but then there wasn't much chance of that, was there? Valli smiled to herself. She didn't want them to understand her smile. That's all. Then we are going to see about the main points of the story. Valli was an 8-year-old girl. The most fascinating thing for her was the bus that traveled between her village and the nearest town. She wanted to ride the bus. She made an elaborate planning and saved 60 paise, the both ways fare of the bus. The bus conductor stretched out his hand to help her up, but Valli could get on by herself. The conductor was fond of joking and called her Madam. The bus started with a roar and Valli was constantly looking outside. The next, the conductor asked her to sit down as she had paid for her seat. She took her seat and an elderly woman sat beside her. The old woman was very repulsive and the smell of the beetle she was chewing offended Valli. The old woman asked why Valli was traveling alone. Valli asked her not to bother about her. Suddenly, a young cow came running very fast in the middle of the road. The next point. The driver sounded his horn loudly, but the more he honked, the more frightened the animal would become. Valli laughed at the scene until tears came in her eyes. Her destination had come. The driver asked Valli to get off the bus. Valli handed 30 paise coins to the driver and told him that she was going back on the same bus. The conductor was surprised. He offered a free cool drink to her. Valli firmly but politely rejected the offer. The next point. He asked if her mother wouldn't be looking for her. On her return journey, she saw the same cow lying dead by the side of the road. The memory of the dead cow haunted her and she was no longer looking outside. She reached her village at 3:40 p.m. She wished and hoped to see the driver again. She found her mother awake and talking to one of her aunts. Her aunt was a chatterbox. Valli agreed that many things were happening outside without their knowledge. That's all, student. Then we are going to see about the poem The Tale of Custard the Dragons by Ogden Nash. This is the last poem. First of all, we have to see about the poet. That is about the poet. Ogden Nash was born on 19 August 1902 in New York. He worked as a school teacher before becoming a copywriter. Nash's first poems were published in New Yorker in 1930. His first collection of poems entitled Hard Lines was published in 1931. The Boy Who Laughed at Santa Claus 1957 and The Girls Are Silly are among his famous books. Nash is perhaps best remembered for his nonsense poetry. Nash died on 19 May 1971. Then first look at the stanza 1. Belinda lived in a little white house with a little black kitten and a little grey mouse and a little yellow dog and a little red wagon and a realio, trualio, little pet dragon. The summary of this stanza is, Belinda lived in a little white house. She lived there with her pets. Her pets included a little black kitten. There was a little grey mouse. She had a little yellow dog and a little red wagon too. And to speak the truth, she had a little pet dragon. Then next stanza. Now the name of the little black kitten was Ink, and the little grey mouse, she called him Blink, and the little yellow dog was Sharp as Mustard, but the dragon was a coward, and she called him Custard. Then the meaning of this stanza is, the name of the little black kitten was Ink, the little grey mouse was called by the name Blink, and the little short dog was known as Mustard, but the dragon was coward. She called the dragon Custard. Coward means a person who lacks courage. Dragon means a large aggressive animal. Then stanza 3. Custard the dragon had big sharp teeth and spikes on top of him and scales underneath, mouth like a fireplace, chimney for a nose, and realio, trulio, daggers on his toes. Meaning of this stanza is, the dragon Custard had big sharp teeth. On the top of him were sharp spikes, and there were scales underneath him. The dragon's mouth looked like a fireplace or hearth. His nose looked like a chimney, and really he had a dagger-like sharp spikes on toes. The next stanza. Belinda was as brave as a barrel full of beers, and Ink and Blink chased lions down the stairs. Mustard was as brave as a tiger in a rage, but Custard cried for a nice safe cage. Meaning of this stanza is, Belinda was braver than many bears put together. Ink and Blink were so brave that they could chase even lions down the stairs. Mustard the dog was as brave as a tiger in anger and rage, but Custard always cried like a coward to be put up in a nice safe cage. The next stanza. Belinda tickled him. She tickled him unmerciful. Ink, Blink and Mustard, they rudely called him Percival. Then they all sat laughing in the little red wagon at the realio, trulio, cowardly dragon. Meaning of this stanza is, Belinda tickled the dragon and she used to tickle him mercilessly. Ink, Blink and Mustard mocked him by calling Percival the brave. All of them sat together in the little red wagon and laughed at Custard. They used to laugh at the coward dragon. The next stanza. Belinda giggled till she shook the house, and Blink said weak, which is giggling for a mouse. Ink and Mustard rudely asked his age, when Custard cried for a nice safe cage. The meaning of this stanza is, Belinda giggled loudly till the whole house shook to its foundation. Blink giggled to like a mouse. Ink and Mustard were very rude to the dragon Custard. They insulted him by asking repeatedly about his age. Custard cried like a coward begging for a nice safe cage for him. The next stanza. Suddenly, next, pistol in his left hand, pistol in his right, and he held in his teeth a cutlass bright. His beard was black, one leg was wood. It was clear that the pirate meant no good. Meaning of this passage is, the pirate had pistol in his left hand. He also held another pistol in his right hand. He was holding a shining dagger among his teeth. His beard was black. One of the legs was of wood. It was quite clear that the pirate meant no good to them. The next answer. Belinda paled and she cried, "Help, help!" But Mustard fled with a terrified yell. Ink trickled down to the bottom of the household and Little Mouse blinked strategically mousehold. Meaning of this passage. When Belinda saw the pirate, her face became pale with fear. She started crying for help. Mustard was terrified and fled crying. Ink hid himself at the bottom of the household. The little mouse Blink entered its hole and saved himself strategically in this way. That is, paled means her complexion faded, fled means ran away. The next stanza. But up jumped Custard, snoring like an engine, clashed his trails like irons in a dungeon. With a clatter and a clank and a jangling scream, he went at the pirate like a robin at a worm. The dragon Custard jumped up. He was snoring like an engine. Then his tail clashed with the pirate as the iron chains strike on the dungeon floor. With a clattering and clanking sound, he made his body hard and twisted. He pounced upon the pirates as a robin pounces upon at a worm. The next stanza. The pirate gaped at Belinda's dragon and gulped some grog from his pocket flagon. He fired 2 bullets, but they didn't hit, and Custard gobbled him every bit. Meaning of this passage is, the pirate watched intently at Belinda's dragon Custard. He took out a small container from his pocket and gulped down some wine. He fired 2 bullets at the dragon but missed the aim. The bullets didn't hit Custard. The dragon swallowed every bit of the pirate immediately. The next. Belinda embraced him. Mustard licked him. No one mourned for his pirate victim. Ink and Blink in glee did gyrate around the dragon that ate the pirate. Meaning of this passage is, Belinda embraced Custard. Mustard started licking him. No one mourned for their pirate victim who was dead. Ink and Blink danced around the dragon who had just swallowed the pirate. That is, embrace means held tightly in arms. Lick means lick the tongue. Mourn means expressed grief. Victim means prey. Glee means happiness. Gyrate means danced around. The next stanza. But presently up smoked little dog Mustard. I would have been twice as brave if I hadn't been flustered. And up spoke Ink and up spoke Blink. We would have been 3 times as brave, we think. And Custard said, I quite agree that everybody is braver than me. Meaning of this passage is, soon the little dog Mustard began to speak. He declared that if he had not been nervous, he would have been twice as brave as he was. Then Ink and Blink replied that in their views, they would have been thrice as brave as they had been. Custard readily agreed that everybody there was braver than him. Then, main points of the poem. Belinda lived in a little white house. She lived there with her pets. Her pets contained a black kitten, ink and grey mouse, blink, yellow dog, mustard and a dragon named Custard. All other pets were considered sharp and brave. Then the next point. That is the fifth point. Only Custard was considered as a coward who always cried for a nice, safe cage. The dragon had sharp teeth. There were spikes on top and scales beneath him. He spat fire and had daggers on his toes. Then Belinda and her pets mocked Custard for his timidity. Then the next point. Suddenly they saw a pirate climbing up through the window. The pirate had a pistol in each hand and a dagger in his mouth. His beard was black and one of his legs was of wood. Belinda turned pale on seeing the pirate and cried for help. The dog Mustard fled crying. Ink hid himself and the little mouse Blink disappeared in the mouse hole. But Custard jumped up and the pirate attacking him with his iron tail. He pounced upon the pirate, killed and swallowed him within no time. The next point. Belinda embraced Custard. Mustard licked him. Ink and Blink danced around him. Then everyone started bragging again of his bravery, forgetting the bravery shown by Custard. Custard agreed that everybody was braver than him. Belinda is still considered as brave as a barrel full of beers. All her pets except Custard are considered sharp and brave. Only Custard is mocked at for his timidity and lack of courage. Thank you, students.